Olivia Carter, a confident and ambitious African-American woman in her early 30s, arrived at the prestigious Royal Crest Hotel in downtown New York. Accompanying her was her assistant, Chloe Walker, a sharp and resourceful professional who had worked with Olivia for years. The Royal Crest was known for its exclusivity, hosting high-profile guests and offering a level of luxury that set it apart from other hotels in the city. It was the epitome of elegance, but for some reason, Olivia couldn't shake the feeling that she didn't belong. As they entered the grand lobby, Chloe immediately noticed the tension in Olivia's demeanor. Olivia's sharp eyes scanned the room, her instincts telling her that something wasn't quite right. She had made her reservation weeks ago, but the receptionist, a young woman with a forced smile, seemed uneasy when Olivia stepped up to the desk. "I'm sorry, ma'am," the receptionist said, clearly uncomfortable. "I can't seem to find your reservation in the system. Could you please wait a moment?" Olivia held back a sigh. She had seen this before, an all-too-familiar encounter where her presence in spaces like this was questioned. Chloe, who had witnessed such discrimination before, was already visibly agitated. The receptionist made a few phone calls, her awkward tone growing more obvious with each passing second. After a brief discussion, the receptionist handed the phone to Olivia. It was the manager, Ethan Blackwood. "Hello, Ms. Carter," Ethan said, his voice smooth but distant. "Unfortunately, we are fully booked tonight, and we won't be able to accommodate you." Olivia paused, taking in his words with an almost imperceptible nod. She had anticipated this response, though she couldn't deny the pang of frustration that flared inside her. The hotel was indeed full, but she was convinced that the real reason had little to do with availability and everything to do with the fact that she was an African-American woman stepping into a world that wasn't ready to welcome her. "Thank you for your time," Olivia said, her voice calm and composed. "We'll find somewhere else to stay." Chloe's face flushed with indignation. She was about to say something, but Olivia raised her hand gently, signaling her to remain quiet. They turned and walked toward the exit, Chloe muttering under her breath about how unfair the whole situation was. Once outside, Olivia leaned against the sleek black SUV that was waiting for them. She could feel Chloe's frustration lingering in the air. "Don't let it get to you, Chloe. It's just another reminder of how far we still need to go," Olivia said, her voice steady. She could tell that Chloe wanted to argue, but Olivia continued. "They want to make me the outsider, but I'm not going to give them the pleasure of reacting the way they expect." Chloe remained silent for a moment, the tension in her body still visible. But after a deep breath, she nodded, understanding the larger message Olivia was sending. They ended up staying in a smaller, less glamorous hotel that evening, but as Olivia stared out the window of their room at the glittering city below, a quiet but resolute thought began to form in her mind. If the Royal Crest wouldn't accept her as a guest, she would return, but as the owner. The morning after their encounter at the Royal Crest Hotel, Olivia Carter sat at her desk in a sleek, modern office overlooking the city. Chloe stood by the window, her arms crossed, still visibly frustrated from the previous evening's events. But Olivia, ever the strategist, was already several steps ahead. "What's the plan, Olivia?" Chloe asked, trying to mask her impatience. She was used to Olivia's calm demeanor, but sometimes it drove her crazy how easily Olivia seemed to move past the obstacles that others found insurmountable. But it was that very quality, her unshakable determination, that made Olivia a force to be reckoned with. Olivia's fingers drummed lightly on the polished wood of her desk. Her mind was focused, processing the incident with the Royal Crest and the seed of an idea that had started to grow within her. She knew the hotel was struggling financially. Rumors had been circulating for months that the once proud institution was in decline. But she hadn't realized just how dire things had become until she did a quick scan of the hotel's financials. Chloe raised an eyebrow. "You're already thinking about buying the place, aren't you?" Olivia's lips curled into a small smile, but it was a smile that spoke volumes of her ambition. "Exactly," she said, her voice low and measured. "They don't want me as a guest. Fine. I'll make sure they'll have no choice but to welcome me as the owner." Chloe shook her head, both impressed and a little concerned. "You've already done the research, haven't you?" "Of course," Olivia replied, not missing a beat. She pulled out a stack of papers from a drawer and slid them across the table. "The Royal Crest is on the edge of financial ruin. They've been operating at a loss for the past 2 years, and the investors are looking for a way out." Olivia was already on the phone with intermediaries and lawyers, putting the pieces into place. She planned to buy the hotel discreetly, using her business acumen to exploit the financial vulnerabilities of the property. She was determined to turn the Royal Crest around, something no one would have expected from the outside, especially not from someone like her. "We're going to make them an offer they can't refuse," Olivia said, her eyes glinting with determination. "The Royal Crest needs new leadership, and I intend to provide it." Chloe looked at her with a mixture of disbelief and admiration. She had seen Olivia take on difficult projects before, but this was something else entirely. A luxury hotel that had been a symbol of exclusivity and elitism would soon be under her control. "Do you really think they'll sell to us?" Chloe asked. Olivia's response was firm. "I didn't get here by luck, Chloe. I've been in this game long enough to know how to read a market. I'll make them an offer they can't refuse. And when they do, I'll transform the Royal Crest into something that's more than just a symbol of luxury. It will become a symbol of change." Chloe leaned back in her chair, processing the magnitude of Olivia's plan. "You want to make the hotel a model of inclusion? You're going to take on the industry's biggest giants and change everything, aren't you?" Olivia nodded. "Exactly. Luxury shouldn't be about exclusivity. It should be about diversity, opportunity, and representation. I'll prove that with the Royal Crest. It's more than just a hotel. It's a statement. And when I'm done, no one will question my place in this industry again." As the days passed, Olivia's team worked tirelessly to assemble the necessary resources and contacts. She made discreet inquiries about the Royal Crest's investors, speaking to intermediaries who were already aware of the hotel's financial struggles. Slowly but surely, she began to shape the deal. Chloe remained skeptical at times, her nerves fraying at the thought of taking such a monumental risk. But Olivia's confidence never wavered. She knew what she was doing. She knew what the Royal Crest represented and how she could use its weaknesses to her advantage. And most importantly, Olivia knew that her time had come. Weeks passed in a whirlwind of activity as Olivia Carter set her plan into motion. Every detail was meticulously crafted, and every move was made with purpose. She was no stranger to challenges, but this, taking control of one of the most iconic luxury hotels in New York City, was her most ambitious undertaking yet. The Royal Crest Hotel's financial troubles were no longer a secret to those in the industry. What had once been a thriving establishment, a beacon of opulence, was now struggling to stay afloat. Olivia knew that in a business as cutthroat as the luxury hospitality industry, that kind of vulnerability could be exploited, and she intended to exploit it to its fullest. It was a quiet afternoon when the offer came through. Olivia and Chloe were seated in Olivia's office, papers and financial reports scattered across the table. Chloe had become more involved in the project, and she was now working closely with Olivia's team to ensure everything ran smoothly. As the phone rang, Olivia glanced at Chloe with a calm determination before picking it up. "This is Olivia Carter," she said, her voice cool but authoritative. "Ms. Carter," the voice on the other end said, "we've reviewed your proposal, and we're prepared to move forward." Olivia's pulse quickened slightly, though her outward demeanor remained steady. This was the moment she had been waiting for. The Royal Crest's investors had agreed to sell, and now she was one step closer to achieving her goal. "We'll finalize the details soon," Olivia replied, her voice unwavering. "But I want it clear that this isn't just a business transaction. This is about leadership, change, and a vision that goes beyond the bottom line." Once the deal was secured, Olivia and Chloe made their way to the Royal Crest for the first time as owners. Olivia knew the significance of this moment. It wasn't just about the financial transaction. It was about making a statement, about taking ownership of a space that had long excluded people like her. As they arrived, she couldn't help but feel a sense of satisfaction. This was her domain now. Walking into the opulent lobby for the first time as the owner, Olivia's sharp eyes took in every detail. The polished marble floors, the grand chandeliers, the soaring ceilings. They were all stunning, but they also represented a legacy of exclusivity and elitism. A legacy she was determined to rewrite. Chloe, who had been by Olivia's side through every step of this journey, noticed the look on her face. "You're not just here to own a hotel," she said, more as a statement than a question. Olivia turned to Chloe, her expression softening just slightly. "Number, I'm here to change an entire industry." In the following days, Olivia moved quickly to implement her vision. She began by bringing in new leadership, people who shared her values of inclusion, diversity, and transparency. Long-standing employees of the Royal Crest were given the option to either adapt to the new culture or leave. Some chose to leave, unwilling to accept the changes that Olivia was introducing, while others embraced the opportunity to be part of something groundbreaking. There was, however, one person Olivia knew she would have to confront directly: Ethan Blackwood, the former manager of the Royal Crest. Olivia had not forgotten his dismissive tone on the phone when she had tried to book a room as a guest. He had been part of the old guard, the ones who believed that the hotel's reputation was more important than welcoming people from diverse backgrounds. Ethan had not been fired immediately, though Olivia knew it was a matter of time. She wanted to give him the chance to prove that he could adapt to her vision for the hotel. If he failed to do so, he would be gone. The first meeting between Olivia and Ethan was tense, to say the least. Olivia sat behind her large mahogany desk, a stark contrast to Ethan, who stood across from her in the same crisp suit he had worn when he had been the manager. "I've been in this business for a long time," Ethan began, clearly attempting to assert his dominance in the room. "I understand what it takes to run a hotel like this. The guests we serve, the exclusivity we maintain." Olivia cut him off. "I don't care about exclusivity, Ethan. What I care about is opportunity. This hotel needs new leadership, and that leadership starts with inclusivity. You have two choices: adapt or leave. It's as simple as that." Ethan hesitated, his pride fighting against the reality that his world was changing. But Olivia's voice was firm, and her gaze unyielding. He had been given a chance to prove himself, but his refusal to adjust to the new direction of the Royal Crest made his position untenable. "I'm sorry," Olivia continued, her tone unwavering, "but this hotel is moving in a new direction, and I need people who are committed to that vision. You're no longer part of that future." Ethan's face reddened, but he said nothing more. He knew the fight was over. He gathered his things and left the office, his resignation clear in his actions. As he walked out, Chloe appeared in the doorway. She gave Olivia a knowing look. "You made the right call." Olivia nodded, but her eyes were already on the bigger picture. The Royal Crest had officially entered a new era, a future defined by opportunity, diversity, and transformation. As weeks turned into months, the transformation of the Royal Crest Hotel was well underway. Olivia Carter, having secured her place as the hotel's owner, was focused not just on business success, but on reshaping an entire legacy. She had inherited a name that stood for elitism, exclusivity, and segregation. But that would change, and she was determined to make it happen. The rebranding was the first step, but it was much more than a cosmetic overhaul. Olivia knew she couldn't simply update the hotel's logo or redesign its interiors. The Royal Crest needed a total cultural shift. The historic luxury brand needed to reflect the diversity, inclusion, and opportunity that Olivia herself embodied. She began with a bold directive: to make the Royal Crest a model for inclusive luxury, where people of all races, backgrounds, and economic statuses were not just welcome, they were celebrated. Olivia's plan was ambitious: introduce a new leadership team, create internships for underrepresented youth, and ensure diversity in every corner of the hotel, from front desk staff to the boardroom. However, change was never going to be easy. As with any legacy institution, there were powerful forces at play, and not all of them were on Olivia's side. The hotel's old guard, those who had benefited from its legacy of exclusion, were hesitant. Some tried to undermine her efforts, doubting that such an ambitious vision could survive in an industry so steeped in tradition. But Olivia was undeterred. She had been through battles before, and this was just another challenge to overcome. Olivia's first real test came in the form of a high-profile event, the Royal Crest Legacy Symposium. This event wasn't just a celebration of the hotel's new direction. It was a confrontation with its past. Olivia understood that in order to truly transform the Royal Crest, she needed to be transparent about its history, no matter how painful. The Royal Crest had long been associated with exclusion, discrimination, and an old-world charm that kept certain people out. Now, Olivia was determined to face that past head-on. The event would be a bold statement, one that would not just acknowledge the hotel's complicated legacy, but also lay out a roadmap for its future. Olivia invited historians, community leaders, activists, and figures from the hospitality industry to discuss the history of the hotel and the changes it would undergo in the future. The symposium would be a public reckoning, a message to the world that the Royal Crest had acknowledged its past and was forging a new, more inclusive path forward. When the day of the symposium arrived, the Royal Crest Ballroom was packed. The atmosphere was electric with anticipation. Olivia stood at the podium, looking out over a sea of faces, many of whom had come to see whether she would truly follow through on her promises. She wasn't nervous. This was her moment, and she was ready. Today, we confront the past, Olivia began, her voice steady and strong. The Royal Crest was built on the ideals of exclusivity and privilege. But the future we're building is founded on the values of opportunity, inclusion, and diversity. This hotel is no longer just a symbol of wealth and status. It is a symbol of change, a change that is long overdue. The room fell silent as Olivia spoke. Her words were powerful, and it was clear that this was a moment of profound significance. She went on to outline the specific steps the hotel would take to change its policies, how it would focus on hiring from underrepresented communities, how it would create educational opportunities for those who had historically been excluded, and how it would actively work with local businesses and organizations to foster a culture of inclusion. The crowd responded with applause, but Olivia wasn't done. "This is not just about changing a hotel," she said. "This is about changing an entire industry. The Royal Crest will lead the way, But we will not stop here. We will create a model of hospitality that is inclusive in every sense of the word. And I will make sure that everyone, from our guests to our employees, feels valued and respected. This is my commitment to you." It was a bold statement, and it resonated deeply with those who had gathered that day. For many, Olivia's words were a sign of hope, a sign that change was not only possible but already in motion. The royal crest had gone from a symbol of exclusion to one of possibility. But Olivia knew that the work had only just begun. The symposium was a success, but it was just the start of her vision. She had already begun to see results. New partnerships were forming, and the hotel's commitment to diversity was being noticed by the press and the public alike. Yet, there were still skeptics. Those who doubted whether a luxury hotel could thrive while embracing diversity. Could the royal crest continue to cater to its high-end clientele, while also becoming a champion of inclusion? Olivia was confident that the answer was yes. She knew that true luxury was not about a select few. It was about creating a space where everyone felt they belonged. In the months that followed, the hotel began to shift in ways that were both visible and subtle. The decor became more inclusive, featuring artwork and designs from a variety of cultures. The staff was more diverse, and they were trained to engage with guests in a way that reflected the hotel's new values. Then came the groundbreaking internship program, which Olivia saw as one of the most important initiatives of all. Through this program, young people from disadvantaged backgrounds were given the opportunity to work at the Royal Crest, gaining invaluable experience in the hospitality industry. It was Olivia's way of ensuring that the hotel wasn't just serving a privileged few. It was actively contributing to the growth and success of a new generation. Despite the growing support for her vision, Olivia knew there would always be those who resisted change. One such individual was Robert Sinclair, a prominent figure in the hospitality industry and an old ally of the Royal Crest's previous leadership. He had long championed the exclusivity that the hotel had once represented, and had voiced doubts about Olivia's ability to make the changes she had promised. At a high-profile gala held at the hotel several months later, Robert confronted Olivia. "I don't know what you're doing, Olivia, but this isn't the Royal Crest I remember," he said bluntly. "You've turned it into something different." Olivia smiled, her gaze calm and collected. "I haven't changed it, Robert. I've made it what it always should have been. This hotel is about more than just luxury. It's about creating an environment where everyone has a chance to thrive, not just the privileged few. And that's why the Royal Crest will succeed." Robert didn't respond. He knew better than to argue with Olivia when she was this determined. And while he still couldn't fully understand her vision, he could see the results. The hotel was thriving, and the guests, diverse, inclusive, and welcoming, were more than happy to prove him wrong. The transformation of the Royal Crest Hotel was complete. Olivia had done what many thought impossible. She had turned an institution built on exclusivity into a model of diversity, inclusion, and opportunity. And in doing so, she had set the stage for something even greater, a movement that would change the luxury hospitality industry for good. Olivia's journey was far from over. She was already making plans to expand her inclusive model to other hotels, creating a chain that would carry her vision of hospitality into new markets and communities. But as she stood at the helm of the Royal Crest, looking out over the guests she had welcomed into her new world, Olivia knew one thing for certain. She had not only changed a hotel, she had changed an industry. And with that, the true legacy of the Royal Crest began.